have the opportunity to stand with you all today to help launch Nikkita Oliver's inspiring campaign for Mayor of Seattle. I'm thrilled to help launch this independent challenge to Democratic Mayor, corporate politician Ed Murray, and also a challenge, an independent challenge to Seattle's corporate political establishment. This energy and enthusiasm, wow. This huge turnout, this is yet another demonstration for us that millions of people, especially younger people, are rising up and demanding a real fighting left alternative to the corrupt corporate establishment that dominates our society. And now, with the ascendancy of Donald Trump, I knew I was going to get some reaction. Right-wing, racist, misogynist bigots who boast about sexual violence. With the ascendancy of Trump to the White House, sisters and brothers, the urgency to build a left alternative is even greater now. This year have been transformed by Trump's wave of attacks on workers, immigrants, women, people of color, and the environment. The majority of Seattle is demanding City Hall lead the way in making our city a center of resistance to Trump's attacks. Neighbors, a real sanctuary against Trump and his billionaire backers, for workers, black and brown people, women, the LGBTQ community, our trans community members, and for protecting the environment. Mayor Murray has made national headlines for saying that Seattle will maintain its sanctuary city status and not back down against Trump's threat to cut federal funding. And we should welcome every positive steps that are taken. But let us be clear, the small steps that Murray and other Democratic politicians that have taken, and also the Democratic mayors in other cities have taken, are far from enough. As long as ICE agents can continue to knock on the doors of our immigrant neighbors. And as long as they can tear our families apart. It is far from enough as long as women lack access to affordable and safe reproductive care. As long as our schools and services remain underfunded, or when the big real estate backers of this developer-in-chief can continue to gentrify Seattle and price working people and people of color out of their homes. Our movement refuses to accept this very, very limited vision for what's possible. We say, imagine what would happen if we had a city leadership prepared to use all the resources at their disposal to stand up to Trump and his billionaire backers. to mobilize the collective power of working people in Seattle to fight back. When ICE agents come into our communities, the mayor should use the city's emergency response network to urge mass peaceful blockades by ordinary working people. Instead, what has the mayor done? He has sent Seattle police to repress peaceful protests, as he did when we occupied SeaTac Airport in our peaceful shutdown against the Muslim travel ban. We need a city leadership that will meet Trump's cuts to education, social services, and environmental protection by raising taxes on the rich and big business. We need a city leadership who, instead of trying to spend hundreds of millions of dollars on new and fancy police bunkers and new jails, helps mobilize Seattle to dismantle the racist mass incarceration system and the militarization. We want a mayor who will join me in the call for an elected civilian oversight board with full powers over the police. Training and policies. We want a mayor who understands that fighting racism does not mean uttering platitudes on MLK Day. Fighting big developer interests that are gentrifying Seattle and our central district. But that would mean we would need a mayor who does not take a penny from big developers. We need a mayor who will understand that fighting racism means fighting for rent control. For a massive affordable housing initiative. And we need a mayor who has the courage to point out the obscenity of having two of the world's richest people in our area when we have expanding homelessness. Tax the rich because I am not beholden to the rich. We need a mayor who understands the realities of a digital divide that affects black and brown young people and poor people, and who has the courage to fight for municipal broadband in Seattle. Only by electing a mayor who does not take money from Comcast. We need a mayor who will fight with our movement to create living wage, unionized public sector jobs for young people. And sisters and brothers, we want a mayor who will build power from below, and who will understand that capitalism as a system has failed us. And that every struggle fight us tooth and nail. But as hard as it will be, the struggle for reforms must be linked to a wider struggle for a fundamental transformation of our society towards a world that is free of all oppression. Sisters and brothers who stand 100% on the side of working people in oppressed communities, not when it is convenient for them. And you can't have that until and unless you have a campaign that absolutely refuses to take contributions from big business, from corporate executives. And that is why I am so happy to see Nikkita, a real movement leader, announce her mayoral campaign. Saying that she won't take a dime of corporate money and that she will run independent of the corporate-backed Democratic Party. In this room tonight, I can feel the power of our social movements. But sisters and brothers, we must also be clear-headed about the power of the corporate political establishment that we are taking on. Mayor Murray has already raised, I think, over $300,000, and if needed, business and establishment donors will not hesitate to hand them $1 million or more to defend their control of City Hall. So what are we going to do? Let's learn from our past. In 2015, when I ran for re-election, the city establishment threw everything they could against me and in favor of my corporate opponent. They put nearly $500,000 of corporate money in the District 3 Council race, breaking all previous records. How did we counter that? We countered that with a people power campaign, knocking on over 95,000 doors, making over 200,000 phone calls, going toe-to-toe on fundraising and raising nearly $500,000 of working people's donations. Donation to our opponent with 10 small donations from our working class supporters. And in John Grant's race against Council President, the then Council President Tim Burgess, in that same year, Tim Burgess, as you all know, I'm sure if you don't, then here's an important fact. Tim Burgess is the poster child for business interests in our city. But in John Grant's race against Tim Burgess, John was outspent 7-1 by Burgess, and still John got 46% of the vote. That was accomplished by empowering working people to fight for those interests. And now it seems that 46% that John Grant won has convinced Burgess to go into early retirement this year. And the reality is, with real social movement campaigns where real empowerment and organizing and experience is built, we can change the debate in this city whether or not we win every single race that we run, because even when our movement representatives win a seat, as I did, we will be isolated and marginalized and powerless in our elected office unless we build an organized movement on the ground, because that is where our real power lies. heard. Just weeks after I was elected, in 2014, 2 council members came into my office, sat me down and said, it was great, you did all this rabble-rousing and you somehow managed to get elected, but we're here to inform you that your agenda is not going to work here. We're not going to let you win 15. And less than 6 months later, we had won $15 an hour. Because we had our own voice through me in City Hall, and together with that we built a movement on the streets and in the workplaces that refused to limit itself to the confines of what is acceptable to the corporate establishment. And that is the strategy we have needed to use in order to win every victory that we have won so far for renters' rights. The Carl Hagelin law against slumlords, the legislation that we won last November to cap move-in fees for renters, the Wells Fargo divestment. The Wells Fargo divestment bill sat in Tim Burgess's committee for 2 months, and the only reason it saw the light of day was because we kept building the movement on the streets in Seattle, and that nationwide, working people, young people went into a revolt against Trump, and suddenly it looked really bad for the city's establishment to say they were anti-Trump and then support the Dakota Access Pipeline. And that is what we're going to need tomorrow, sisters and brothers, tomorrow. We're going to bring back our resolution for the divestment of the city from the Keystone XL pipeline. In conclusion, sisters and brothers, Socialist Alternative, my organization, and I warmly welcome Nikkita's decision to run as a People's Party candidate, alongside John Grant's decision to break from the Democratic Party and run for City Council as a Democratic Socialist. John and Nikkita's campaigns, alongside the ongoing work that our movement and Socialist Alternative have been doing, alongside this powerful work that has been happening, I am confident we can blaze a path for independent left politics in Seattle and use these campaigns to begin building a fight back, a deeper and broader fight back against racism, sexism, discrimination against LGBTQ people, and begin to make Seattle the center of resistance against Trump, the billionaire class, and against capitalism.